Welcome to a special edition of the Business of Government Hour, a conversation with authors. I'm Michael Keegan, your host and managing editor of the Business of Government magazine. For almost 15 years, the IBM Center for the Business of Government has sought to connect research to practice, sponsoring third-party research on a broad range of public management issues facing us today. Interagency coordination is an essential element of effective public leadership. Few agencies have the funding, expertise, or influence to achieve their goals single-handedly. Moreover, complex problems require interdisciplinary and hence interagency solutions. To succeed, public executives must leverage the financial, human, and organizational resources of multiple agencies. This requires coordination. Coordination, however, is easier said than done. What are coordinated results? How can government executives deliver consistent coordinated results? What are the challenges to coordination? And how can federal agencies enhance interagency coordination? Today, we'll explore these questions and so much more with Andrea Strimling Yodsampa, author of the IBM Center report, Coordinating for Results, Lessons from a Case Study of Interagency Coordination in Afghanistan. The case study brings into sharp relief the difficulties of coordinating in a high-visibility, high-priority, and high-stakes environment, and shows that coordination is possible, even in the most challenging contexts. Andrea, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Andrea, your report for the IBM Center, Coordinating for Results, Lessons from a Case Study of Interagency Coordination in Afghanistan, argues that interagency coordination is a fixture of effective public leadership. Why is coordination important for public leadership, and how does coordination differ from collaboration and integration?
I think coordination is increasingly important for any leadership in the private sector or the public sector. But in the public sector, with resources being increasingly constrained, agencies simply don't have all of the resources, human and otherwise, or all of the networks or all of the influence to achieve their goals or their missions single-handedly. So increasingly, they're finding they have to coordinate across agency lines to get their work done.
So government executives and managers face many challenges. You've alluded to some as they coordinate across agency boundaries. Would you identify the most significant challenges they face?
Sure. There are many challenges that make coordination difficult. Some are just the differences, the inherent differences between agencies. Agencies often have very different goals and priorities and time horizons. Even if there are overarching, high-level goals may be similar. And they also have often profound cultural differences, organizational cultural differences, meaning different lexicons, different norms that can make coordination particularly challenging even at an interpersonal level. Beyond that, it's often agencies that compete for resources that find themselves having to coordinate. And that sort of underlying tension associated with competition can make coordination challenging. And just to add a few more, there are often very profound resource and power disparities between the very organizations that need to coordinate. And so the organizations that are less powerful in terms of immediate sources of power, like financial resources, often fear that their work will be co-opted by the more powerful agency. This is particularly true in the civil-military arena. And beyond that, at a sort of systems level, agencies that find themselves having to coordinate even intensely often don't have an overarching coordination authority above everybody who can direct them to coordinate and sort of hold it all together. So they're coordinating without an overarching authority. I call it the no one in charge challenge, and that makes it particularly complex.
So, Andrea, your report distinguishes between coordination processes and the results of those processes. Why is this important?
Well, I think it's very important. A lot of prior research has tended to conflate coordination processes and the results of the processes. And investing in a coordination process, it requires a lot of resources, a lot of time and effort and human resources, even financial resources. So it only merits that investment if it yields tangible results. And so it's very, very important, I think, in research to distinguish the process from the results.
Mm-hmm. And could you tell us, you identify two types of coordinated results. Could you tell us what they are? And also, what are two types of coordination failures?
Well, let me start with the coordination failures because they are very, very commonly found in interagency coordination. The first is negative interactions between activities in which one agency's often very well-intended efforts inadvertently undermine the efforts or the goals of another agency. So that's working at cross purposes, and it's quite common. And the second is wasteful duplication of efforts. So in many cases, duplication can be creative and it can be deliberate. What I'm talking about here is inadvertent, accidental duplication that wastes precious resources that are therefore not available for other efforts. So those are two types of very common coordination failures: negative interactions and duplication of effort. Now turning to coordinated results. I've defined coordinated results as coming in sort of two varieties. The first is complementarity, when one agency's activities directly complement another agency's activities. So I build a school and you furnish it with equipment, desks, books, even train the teachers to teach in the school. That would be a classic example of complementarity. Complementarity is thus the first type of coordinated results. The second type is even more powerful in terms of overarching effectiveness, and I've called it synergy. And it comes into play when one agency's efforts and another agency's efforts together lead to the realization of multiple high-level strategic goals. So, for example, looking ahead to the case study of U.S. civil-military coordination in Afghanistan, there were a number of cases in which road construction advanced multiple strategic goals. On the one hand, it facilitated transportation. On the other, along many segments of road, economic development naturally emerged. And in other cases, the roads provided enhanced security to certain communities. And when that happens, when multiple strategic goals are achieved through the combined efforts of multiple agencies contributing to road construction, that's an example of synergy. So again, there are two types of coordinated results that are slightly different: complementarity and synergy.